This is good coffee.
Wow, so this is Donut Shop?
This is Donut Shop. It's a week-old coffee.
You know, the thing about coffee is that it is a neutral substance, which means it can sit in the pot for as long as you want it to.
As long as it's, like, airtight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Don't even have to freeze it.
The only other biologically neutral fluid is urine. And coffee tastes a lot better.
On that note, welcome to episode 19 of Matty Loves Podcast.
Matty Loves Podcast. Matty Loves Podcast.
As I said, this is episode 19 of Matty Loves...
19.
19 of Matty Loves Podcast. I'm your host, Matt D. Simone, and I'm joined as always by the good doctor, Tom Lucas. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing so well. I have a week of coffee in me, but strangely, I don't have to take a leak yet. So, and as always, there's no place I would rather be than here in the studio with you.
Yes.
Good sir.
Yes, we have Roadhouse playing on the big screen right now.
I love this movie.
Yes.
So much. Patrick Swayze, the Zen.
Yes.
The Zen man. The Zen master.
His name is Dalton.
When he's doing that Tai Chi out there by the lake, it doesn't get any better than that, man. It just doesn't.
It doesn't. So, yeah, that's what we got rolling on Netflix right now.
Get your shoulder pads out.
Kelly Lynch is in the building.
Oh, Kelly Lynch. Woo! Oh, my God, Kelly Lynch.
So, yeah, when we last left you, we were going to make a pot of coffee that lasted a week, and we were going to come back and talk about Ernest Cline's Ready Player One. So are you ready to do that?
Did you guys go and read the book?
I hope to God that you did.
Did you go and get it and read the book like we told you to? Good.
It's a quick read. So anyway, yeah. So let's get right into it, man. We're not messing around this week.
No.
Ready Player One. We spoke a little bit about it on the at the end of the last podcast. This was a book that was released, as we said, in 2011. So when reading it now, I wouldn't necessarily say that some of the more recent references of pop culture in here are dated at all, but you can definitely tell that this book is about 3 to 4 years old. If you're just picking it up without even talking about the references.
Where did you notice that? I think when he mentions like YouTube specifically, and a couple other things, and it's an alternate history. It's not our 2015 or 2011 or whatever.
No,
it's an alternate world, and I did find...
Well, this isn't... It's not 2011 in the book.
Right, yeah, it's 20...
Yeah. It's 75, I think.
2075 or something. Some of the really specific references, like YouTube, watching something on YouTube, something else, I did feel like maybe he painted himself in a corner a little bit with that kind of stuff.
Well, he references something bad that happened that caused the world to go to, like, shit that happened around, like, 2013.
Okay, yeah.
So I think was when I read that, I was like, wait, when was this book published? And I looked back and I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so as we mentioned...
Look at them pleated baggy khakis.
Oh, my gosh, man.
Roadhouse.
Big shirt, too,
Look at
man.
this guy, yeah.
So anyway, be nice.
Well, you know, Ready Player One lives in the 80s.
I'm sure there's a planet that is called Planet Double Deuce.
Right.
And you can go, and you can get in Oasis and go to the Double Deuce and bounce every single night if you want to.
Yeah, you can do it. Tai Chi on the lake.
Oh my gosh, and bang Kelly Lynch.
So do you think there's a Planet Swayze? Or
Planet Swayze? Are you kidding me? Like, there's Planet Swayze. You can live it all. You can live Black Dog, bro. You can drive a truck on the lonely streets.
Do the Point Break thing, man.
You can stitch yourself up.
The storm of the century.
Exactly. So yeah. So anyway, what are we talking about? You can go and live Planet Swayze. Well,
yeah. What are we talking about, man?
So
what is Ready Player One?
So let me set you up here. This is what happens, and honestly, a little bit of this is kind of real to me because I can feel like some of this really happening. Basically, there's this gentleman by the name of Halliday Oh, shit, I can't remember his first name. But anyway, Halliday is all you really need to know. He created this virtual simulation.
He's kind of a Steve Jobs sort of character.
Yes, definitely.
He's a... His contributions to the computer industry in the book are set up to be globally influential.
Yes, James Halliday, who I was just mentioning, and then Ogden Morrow are compared.
That's his Wozniak.
Yeah, Wozniak and Jobs. Yeah. So anyway, so they create this world that basically you can, with a little bit of gear, can go in.
Visor and the
some
haptic gloves.
Haptic gloves, a chair if you want to sit in and everything. And they've basically got it set up to where you can go into a virtual world.
Go into the Matrix, basically.
You can go anywhere you want to. And the creators of this world are guys that grew up playing a lot of video games and watching a lot of movies and reading a lot of comic books.
Yes.
So in this world, it's a giant universe with planets.
Right, you go from planet to planet to planet.
You go from planet to planet. These planets are like planet Zemeckis is example in the book. Robert Zemeckis, he's the director of films like Forrest Gump or like Back to the Future, notably referenced in the book. Mm-hmm. And you can go and you can be Marty McFly.
Yeah, in fact, the protagonist is obsessed with family ties.
Yes, exactly. So basically. It's kind of like, and not to get too, I don't know what the word is for it, but my idea of heaven is being able to do what Wade does in this book.
Right.
Is going to, if I could, and we'll talk about this in a second, but, that would just be my idea of heaven, of being able to go and live out, a movie. Or play a video game in real life and have stakes.
One of the things is that you can enter a movie and play one of the characters in the movie. And really, how far away are we from that technology?
Yeah.
I mean, we're almost there.
Mm-hmm. And you get points for dialogue and how you deliver it and your memory. And you only
are you ready for your Rocky Horror?
I mean,
you ready to
I don't know
close the doors and be Dr. Frankenfurter while nobody's looking?
Right, yeah. See, I don't know if I would go Rocky Horror for that. We'll talk about that in a minute, because we have to establish.
Yeah, let's get back to the premise.
Right, so basically, this guy Halliday and Ogden Morrow, better known as Og, they create this simulator. Og is the mouthpiece. He's the face of the duo. And Halliday is the guy behind the scenes. He's got Asperger's. He's socially inept and everything. And so...
Truly eccentric.
Yes, truly eccentric.
Genius.
Eccentric genius, so much to the point as when this program, hits pop... I mean, I'm talking about the whole entire world has an OASIS... console for the most part. And everybody in the world is living in this program 24/7.
Right, yeah. It's a much better alternative to the real world, which has gone to crap.
Right. And in the beginning...
Poverty is rampant.
Right.
And the environment is hyper polluted.
Right.
And corporations are basically the government. There's a lot of cyberpunk elements.
Yeah, so I believe at the onset... of OASIS, this is what the program's called, Halliday gets sick and he passes away. And before he dies, he's a billionaire. I mean, like 100 times over.
Yeah, well, OASIS is, it's the Facebook of this world.
Right.
Everyone ponies up.
Yes. And so Halliday, being the, genius that he is and nutbar at the same time, hides his entire fortune in the program.
And it's kind of a Willy Wonka thing in a way, right?
Yes.
Whoever can solve the puzzle, find the keys, open the gates, and do all that, gets all of his money. Because he had no children, no wife, nothing. So his whole fortune, $1 billion, is waiting for the person who can solve the mystery.
It's waiting for Charlie.
Right, and these are Easter eggs.
Yes.
And every geek in the world knows what an Easter egg is.
Explain to anyone who doesn't know what when someone says, "Oh, that was an awesome Easter egg in that movie," what are they talking about?
Well, in an Easter egg hunt, eggs are hidden, and you run around trying to find them. Right? They're hidden little treasures And an Easter egg is just that. It's something that's hidden in a game or a movie or whatever that if you are paying attention, if you seek it out, it's going to reward you.
My first Easter egg came in Indiana Jones when he's in the temple at the very beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and in all the hieroglyphs that are lining the walls, there's a hieroglyph of C-3PO and R2-D2.
You know, I never could find that in the movie. Like, I've seen screenshots,
right,
but I've never actually seen it while the movie's rolling.
Or the club at the beginning of Temple of Doom is called Club Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
You know, that is an Easter egg.
Right, yeah. THX1138 is the license plate of... in American Graffiti,
right,
of the truck that Harrison Ford drives around, and THX 1138 was George Lucas's first movie.
Right.
Have you ever seen that?
It's Robert Duvall, right?
Yeah,
I think I saw.
It's a underground future city where everyone's all drugged up.
Yeah, and I get that. Yeah. I get that movie confused with 1984.
Well, they're both kind of like totalitarian dystopias. So yeah. So
anyway. So this bajillionaire hides his entire fortune in this program. Meanwhile, his partner has remained kept his mouth shut about it, and you know, I don't think
he's equally as rich.
Right, he's equally as rich, so why does he need all this money anyway? And so basically what we have here is the story of the kid on planet Earth that finally unlocks the first mystery.
Yeah.
As we were talking about, you know, he's built walls in front of his fortune, and you've got to find these walls and then pass through them more or less to get to the next wall, so to speak.
And it's very classic hero's journey too, in that there's 3 gates, and in mythology, there's usually 3 trials.
Right, exactly.
Right, so yeah.
Exactly, so yeah, and I don't think that really gives too much away.
No, it's established.
Yes.
In the first chapter, he says, I'm the guy who found the first key.
Right.
And my life changed completely after I did.
There's 3 gates, and there's 3 keys. You have to find the key to get into the gate, and each gate itself, as you pass through, is a task, and each of these tasks are freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, it's basically they establish what the world is like. You see, what the possibilities could be. And then these 3 gates are possibilities you didn't even think were possible.
They've been hiding in OASIS from the beginning.
Yeah, I know.
And no one has discovered them. Because, Holiday is... the best time of his life was the 80s. And he was obsessed with all of it. Yes. All the 80s pop culture. Not just the nerd stuff either, all of it. And so you have to know your history if you're going to solve,
For sure.
Yes, find the keys and open the gates and all that. And that's why the stuff was able to just sort of hide in plain sight, for so long, because... people, you have to be an expert on this stuff.
Right, and those people are called gunters.
Gunters,
yes. Egg hunters and gunters, right? Yeah. You don't get to halfway through the book until you find out. They say gunters the whole time. You're like, what the hell is a gunter?
Right.
But the book is really good like that. They mention these things, and you're asking yourself these questions, and they answer all of your questions. So over this course of time, there have been people in the program called gunters, and they are specifically there to hunt eggs. Yeah. Meanwhile, there's a gigantic corporation that has infiltrated OASIS, and they want the fortune for bad reasons, more or
less.
Right,
yeah, they want
corporation.
They want to use it to take ownership of OASIS and turn it into a highly monetized type situation. And the thing about it is that when Holiday set up the challenge, he really didn't put any rules.
Right.
There's really very little in terms of rules that you could potentially break. So IOI exploits it.
Yes.
To the millionth degree.
Yeah, IOI is that gigantic corporation. Yeah. I know. So ridiculous. In the middle of a bar, Dude's like, I'll let you touch her boobs for $20.
And he's just like
and
kneading
he's going
bread.
for it. Yeah.
I wonder how many times they shot this scene.
Yeah, sorry folks. Roadhouse sometimes can just really, distract us.
Yes.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, IOI is that corporation. They've infiltrated everything, and they want this fortune for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
So basically, and then we have the Gunters who are focused on just finding IOI agents and destroying them.
Yeah.
It's what it's turned into, kind of, in Oasis. However, at the onset of the story, nobody's been looking for the egg.
They gave up.
Yeah.
They gave up on it. It's questionable as to whether or not it even exists. In the book, it's explained that when he died, the nature of the contest created this 80s revival culturally. The fashions and the music and all that came back in a really big way.
People were watching the movies again. They were listening to the music. They were playing the video games. Yeah.
And doing all the stuff.
Right.
And, but eventually, after the excitement, it did fade because it was just too hard for people and all that. What I like about the Gunters as a concept is you have the lone wolf Gunter, who is their creed to ask for no help, take no help, do it by themselves. Then you get the Gunters who form clans and guilds and all that.
What would you be? Would you go guild, or would you kind of roll on your own and look? I'd like
to think I'd start a guild.
Yeah,
because like when I played World of Warcraft, I was in a bunch of guilds, and then me and a few people created our own guild, and I got a lot of pleasure out of that, man. Yeah. It was kind of a pride point.
I think I would kind of more roll towards like what Wade does,
Yeah. No,
other Gunters.
The lone wolf has great appeal.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, he doesn't do this. He doesn't take care of business alone.
No.
They are a clan.
They are. They are.
But that's the whole point of it all, I think, too, is, to have them realize what they're doing, even though they say they're so against working together. This is the type of story to where obviously it's going to take more than one person to do it, and the game is set up that way eventually too, as well. So anyway, yeah. So we've kind of set everything up for you. So basically, we have this guy who's got to go through the three gates to end up hopefully finding this treasure. And like I said, this book is amazing. I can't. It's riddled with references to 80s pop culture, music, video games, television, movies throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that was one of the parts that was a real driving force for me.
You had told me to get ready for a soundtrack.
Yes.
That there was a lot of music in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that was amazing for me is that all the songs that he references in the book, I know very well.
Right.
So they instantly played in my head.
Right.
I didn't even need help with that.
Sure.
And besides all the other pop culture stuff, Dungeons and Dragons is a big part of this too. And if you look at any top 10 list of modules were the pre-made adventure packs that you could buy to run, gamers through. They call them modules for whatever reason. If you look at any top 10 list, typically number one is going to be Tomb of Horrors. And that is the dungeon that is experienced in the book. And, Tomb of Horrors, I remember playing it. I remember running it as a dungeon master, and it was a dungeon with very little monsters and all traps. And in fact, Matt, I have a copy of it at my house.
Really?
So if you want to see Tomb of Horrors next
sweet.
time, you're
so
over
when they
or whatever.
got to that, you were like, "Holy shit!"
Yes. And to bring comics in a little bit, have you ever heard of Skull Kickers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's a swords and sorcery.
Right.
Bash and crash. They had a couple years ago. They had a call for pitches for Skull Kicker stories, and you had the opportunity to possibly get a story in, and they'd run it. And I decided that I was going to run the Skull Kicker bunch through Tomb of Horrors. So I wrote a comic that sort of comedically ran them through Tomb of Horrors. So I know this dungeon really well. And I remembered playing it.
Yeah.
And it killing every player that I had and having to resuscitate them and do all that. And I loved it. It was such great payoff. This is a love letter to 80s pop culture and geekdom in general. And Ernest Cline has built his career on this. Most of our listeners are familiar with the 2009 film Fanboys, which is about something that, you saw the guy who was terminally ill that they showed The Force Awakens to. Yeah. And then he sadly passed away. In Fanboys, they have a friend who's dying of a terminal illness, and they take him to go to the Skywalker Ranch to get a copy of Phantom Menace, because Phantom Menace hadn't come out.
Okay.
In the film.
Right.
2009, obviously, Phantom Menace has been out for a while, but in the film, Phantom Menace was about to come out, and they wanted to give their friend, they wanted to send him out on a high note. So they go and they break into Skywalker Ranch. So there's a great scene when they're in, I don't know, what is it, Springfield, Illinois, or whatever, which is Iowa. What is the fictitious home of Captain Kirk?
Oh, yeah, because Kirk's the one that has it. Shatner's got the copy. And then they ask him, why do you...
Oh, yeah, right,
why do you think I'm William Shatner?
And when they're passing through whatever Iowa town or whatever, that's the fictitious home, birthplace of Captain Kirk, Seth Rogen and all these Trekkies are there, and there's this great, scene where they sort of crash their party in the town square or whatever, and, it's so good. And then... there's the documentary about the E.T. game, which they did find thousands of copies buried in the desert. Game Over, Atari : Game Over.
Now, I read that story about all the countless overstock of Atari games that they buried in the desert.
Yeah, E.T. was a disaster, and I think it pretty much broke Atari. And anyway, they took every copy of it that they could find, and they buried it in the desert like toxic waste. It's crazy. Like nuclear waste.
It's crazy. So anyway, I guess really what I want to ask you, after we've kind of talked about what Ready Player One is about, even though, there's still so much more to get into.
And he has a new book out, Armada, which is a tribute to The Last Starfighter, right?
Which is,
to a point, right?
To a point. Last Starfighter was about the guy going into the game, whereas this is a story about a kid looking out of the window. It's like you looking out of the window and seeing a dude running for his life with a Pip-Boy on his wrist, freaking out, something like that. But Armada, it's a different kind of story, and I think you're gonna like Armada more than you like Ready Player One.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, I
look forward to borrowing it from you.
Yeah, well, I've got probably about I'm on the last quarter, so I'll definitely be done with that.
You reading it more slowly than you read Ready Player One?
I found myself doing that, but also too, I've had to write a couple scripts in the past 2 weeks too.
Yeah, schoolwork got in the way.
Right.
Of the book reading. Gotcha.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess really the main thing I wanted to ask you, since Ready Player One, I got done reading it. Where to talk about if we were to have created Oasis, and we were to design, everything, obviously, in the same setup with the different worlds and everything like that, and we hid our fortune in the game, and you had 3 gates. And the gates in the book are a movie. Let's see, it's a movie, a song, and a video game.
Right. Now,
and you have to live the 3, and the second would be, he plays the song, right?
Okay, so the in the book, the movie is War Games.
Yes.
The Matthew Broderick movie. The song is...
It was a Rush jam.
Right. It was a Rush jam.
Which is hard as shit to play.
Right.
But Wade knows how to play guitar perfectly.
Yeah.
We'll get into all that stuff.
Yeah, there are some things that are a little, And then the third one is, what, the game?
The game.
Movie, song, and game?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's also a game to get a key. Wait, no, he plays the song to get a key.
He plays the song to get a key. Right. So, why don't you start looking that up while I go through my first gate?
Okay.
So, Anyway, in the first gate, he goes and he plays a perfect game of Pac-Man, by the way. And he goes to like a Burger Time or a pizza place, like a Chuck E. Cheese kind of situation. And it opens up the gate, and he goes in, and he has to reenact war games. So he plays Matthew Broderick's character.
All the way through?
All the way through.
He gets like 3 mess ups.
Yeah.
And if you mess up, you die.
Yeah. And in Ready Player One, when your avatar dies, you lose everything.
All your
you have to
experience
start over.
points. You got. I mean, we're talking classic video game stuff, man. You got your all your shields, your weapons, and everything like that. All of it gone.
Right. So, there's a lot of directions you could go in picking a movie, for it. Like, I was first inclined to say, well, maybe E.T., E.T. solid 1982 kind of deal. But I decided that I'm going to go with Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. How much fun would it be to play that movie? And I pick it also because I have seen that film at least 50 times all the way through. When I was a kid and we got cable TV for the first time, way back in the early days of cable, HBO played Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
So Raiders would be the movie. Now, obviously, you'd be Indiana Jones throughout the whole film.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you'd play Indiana from start to finish. Now, I'm talking about, like, if we were to sit here right now and I threw Raiders on, you could talk that whole movie.
Yes.
Yeah?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, look, in the book, he claims that he's watched War Games like 12 dozen times or whatever it is, and he gets through it like flawlessly.
All these things that he does in this book, that's probably our only hang-up is all the things that he manages to do in this book is because he's like played a video game or watched a movie 12 dozen times. Or
the amount of stuff that he has done in preparation, if I think like physically the time that would be needed to actually do that prep work, it's impossible. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Because
time in Oasis is not like slower than time in reality.
Yeah, not at all. He's like, I've watched every episode of Family Ties 100 times.
Yeah,
like,
holy shit.
Or whatever.
Is that all you watch, dude?
Yeah. And he's read every book. Like, he's a little too capable.
And they try. He does a decent job of setting up like why Wade does all this stuff. Why he has the time.
It's his escapist.
Right. But at the same time, man, like you said, there's not enough time in the day for him to get all this shit.
I would more believe Wade writing an app that has all the dialogue and cues every line.
Right.
Like quickly like downloading the script and turning it into a cue card app.
They can't have any help though.
Yeah, I know. So, but I mean, and like that, because those are the rules that he created for the book. But like Wade is just, first of all, he's a teenager, and he's just far too talented, smart, and capable. He doesn't struggle enough, I think. But anyway, so I'm going to go with Raiders of the Lost Ark. But I'm telling you, like E.T. was pretty close, or something like Short Circuit.
Yeah.
They
did Blade Runner.
Yeah. So what would you pick?
Oh, man, I think I'd have to go Karate Kid 2.
Two. Karate Kid 2. Now, why 2?
Okay, well, originally in my mind, I was like, Masters of the Universe all day long. But for one, we've already talked about Masters of the Universe here.
Yeah.
But secondly, as far as like actually literally being able to live it, oh my God, Daniel's arc in Karate Kid 2 is sweet.
Yeah.
He gets to go to Japan, okay?
Yeah, right.
Meet a hot Japanese girl.
Yeah.
All right. Have a sweet little 2-week tryst with her, but in the meantime, learn what it's like to fight for your life. And plus, I'd be going to Japan just knowing exactly what was going to happen. So, when Kamiko is doing her dance, I got to be waiting for Chance to come sliding down on the wire.
Yeah.
No breach.
So, what did you figure out about the second gate?
Second gate is Blade Runner.
Is Blade Runner?
Blade Runner, the game Black Tiger, and then the Rush album is all involved in that.
Okay, so Blade Runner is what cues him off, because Blade Runner has a scene where he scans a photo and he blows it up and he gets a clue. And then the Black Tiger is the game where... what happens in the game Black Tiger?
Black Tiger is kind of like a side-scrolling, hack and slash.
Right. And
that part right there, the Blade Runner and Black Tiger, they don't really spend a lot of time on. And mainly it's when the key turns into, or the guitar turns into a key after he's done playing the Rush album. But what about when he finds the little bonus? Perfect game of Pac-Man.
Right, yeah.
I mean...
He's like kind of...
if he wouldn't have found that, he wouldn't have done... I mean, that's what got him...
Yes.
To the end.
What happens as a result of playing Pac-Man ends up being what saves his ass at the end and gives him the opportunity to actually win the game.
So good.
And
what would be the video game that you would have to live?
The video game.
Yes, from start to finish. And I mean, see, you've played so many more types of games than me.
Yeah,
I mean, guys.
What I'm thinking about is I'm like going to the arcade. There was a really great arcade growing up down the street from me called Alligator Alley, and it was owned by a guy who, in a strange sort of foreshadowing of my life, he wrestled alligators.
Okay.
In Florida,
right?
And when he retired, he moved up to Michigan so he could have cooler weather, and he named it Alligator Alley, and it was a converted fast food restaurant. There used to be a fast food restaurant in the early '70s called Red Barn, is a northern chain, and you can see them sometimes. The buildings look like they have a barn shape. And it was like chickens and burgers and all that kind of stuff. It was very, on the outside of the building, had two huge plastic alligators on the roof of this thing. And I'm trying to think of what was probably my absolute favorite video game.
I mean, we don't even have to. I mean,
but I want to really personalize this experience.
Right.
One of two options: either A, Tron. The Tron stand-up video game was great because it was 4 games in one.
I just had like a Tron week.
It was the disc toss, the light cycles, and I forget the other two. Or, are you familiar with Dragon Quest?
Yeah.
Okay, which was the animated one.
Right.
That kind of hits on a couple different notes.
Okay.
At the same time.
I haven't really thought... I'm going sequel again, man. I have to say Double Dragon 2 for me.
Yeah, Double Dragon.
The second game was really awesome. But also though, Double Dragon 2 was made for like 2 players. Like it was a lot funner to play. If I'm going like single player,
what about like Dig Dug?
I'm thinking like Bump and Jump.
Bump and Jump.
Do you remember that game?
I don't.
Okay, so...
Oh, wait, no, I know what game I want, but tell me about Bump and Jump.
So Bump and Jump was basically a game when you're, like, in a car and you're on a road, right, and you can jump really high. And so, like, you'd start out as, like, this little square, but when you jump, the square would be like, blue, 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 and it would get bigger, and then it gets smaller. And you had obstacles, and basically you were staying still. It was the screen that was moving super fast, and you had to move around and shit. So that would be cool. Master Blasters would be cool, too.
He referenced some good stuff too, like Robotron. But there was a game that I was super obsessed with, and it was called Crazy Climber. Do you know Crazy Climber? Crazy Climber had 2 joysticks, all right? And you were a guy who climbed skyscrapers.
All right.
Okay? So the goal of each level was to get to the top of the building.
Right.
And you would have to basically push the joysticks back up and down in this back and forth motion, and that was your arms.
Right.
And then you could move laterally. Okay? Because what happens is the windows open and people try to drop flower pots on you. There was like scaffolding, like window washer scaffolding that would fall on you, girders, birds, all kinds of stuff, and you just would constantly, you're going, wah, 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 wah. And for some reason I was really good at that game. And so that was a plus. So, because a lot of coin-op games back in the day were infamously difficult,
Yeah.
And Crazy Climber, was a game that for whatever reason I just really got into. So I'm gonna go Crazy Climber for my final.
Okay, but that would be the what would be the gate to unlock your treasure though? Because in this one he has to do like Monty Python in the Holy Grail.
Right. He had to. Did he have to deliver dialogue again?
Yes.
Okay. Which scene was it that he had to do?
Yeah, it wasn't a whole movie. It was just a scene.
Okay.
But for me, I think if I had like just the scene,
yeah,
it would probably be. I would say, when. Godfather.
Okay.
When the consigliere.
Larry.
Yeah, consigliere.
What?
There we go.
There it is.
Robert Duvall goes out to Hollywood to talk to the movie producer to get Johnny Fontaine that role. And the producer's like, I'm not going to do this, blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, he wakes up and he has the horse head in the
what
bed.
year? We don't have to stay with the 80s, right?
No, absolutely not. No,
okay.
It would be the dinner scene, though, when he a real simple dinner scene. But I think I would do that just because, I don't know. But I just watched Godfather a couple days ago.
Okay.
Tron would be an awesome movie to live. Holy shit, man.
It'd be multiple layers.
Oh,
you'd be
God.
the guy who's in a video game, who's in a movie, who's in a video game.
Yeah.
It's like so many layers out. How about you got to do the scene where Darth Vader reveals that he's Luke's father?
Yeah, and you base your XP, the points you get on your like how convincing your no is that comes out.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
1,000 points.
I think that would be pretty damn rewarding.
Yeah, either that or the scene when you're getting ready to get frozen in carbonite and
you're hot. She says, "I love you."
I know.
Yeah, you gotta deliver.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Okay. So, real quick too, in this book also, he has a chance to pick from any robot mech that he wants to use.
Oh yeah, this is so rewarding. Because do you know what Shogun Warriors were? They were toys. Okay, Shogun Warriors, and my friend Victor and Bernard, if you guys listen to the show, this was a big deal for us. What they did is, and something you see a lot of, is anime, manga, and robot toys from Japan come over here and they get renamed and repackaged as completely different things. And Shogun Warriors were these toys that they were about 1.5 foot high, I want to say. Yeah, you got them. Like, click on that one to the right.
Which one?
The one that was, that one. That's a nice one, right? And what it is they totally ignore the IPs. Like, those all come from very different animes and mangas, but they were smashed together. It's like Mazinger Z and
right. All these guys had their own shows,
right?
But to us stupid Americans, they're all a big team.
2 of these were in that scene. Okay. So I forget. Artemis was
she was that one.
The female version of this one.
Yes.
And then this was Aches or Ek. H.
Yeah, remember?
Yeah, H, right? So that was hers, whatever. Anyway, Shogun Warriors, they were such a rewarding toy because they were like 1.5 foot tall, big plastic robot, mech. And the Mazinger Z is the one I had. In his head is a little airplane kind of thing. And so the pilot of the mech would fly in on that, And we used to play with these big Shogun Warriors. So when I saw that scene in the book, I'm like, they're playing Shogun Warriors. Like, oh my God, Ernest Cline knows my life.
So basically...
Did you look up Leopardon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Not the most attractive mech.
No, but I mean...
I Googled all of those so that I could remember what they looked like. And I had this one, and I'm pretty sure Victor had that one, and my friend Bernard had that one.
Is it Leopardon or Leopardon?
Maybe it's
I don't know either. I don't know. You said Leopardon, I was like, well, yeah. But still, I thought that it was interesting that they chose that.
Right.
The robot from the Spider-Man Japanese TV show.
Right.
But that was so. What would yours be? Would it be Mazinger Z?
I think that I would because that's specifically a toy that I own. But I think Voltron would be pretty damn rewarding.
I go similar to and that talk. Okay, so one thing that necessarily wasn't a delivery in this book is when we do see Voltron. We don't get to see Voltron do anything because they take him out like right away. Yeah. Which is kind of funny too. Because as soon as they see Voltron, they're like, get rid of him fast, take care of him.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally.
I think I would kind of be similar, except I would go the Megazord from Power Rangers, the first Power Rangers show.
What about, could you do like an Optimus Prime?
No, because you don't drive Optimus.
Yeah,
you can sit in him, I guess.
That's true.
You don't drive him.
No, he doesn't. There's a great game, and it's been in several different incarnations, video games. It's a tabletop game called BattleTech. And BattleTech, well, do I have that right? Yeah, because I'm thinking Robotech. Those are some really cool...
Robotech.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah. BattleTech was a tabletop game where you would operate giant mecha and you would fight. So it's like kind of miniatures, but they've turned it into video games and role playing games and all that stuff. And when you design, you can design your own if you want. You have heat management, resource management, all this stuff like through the roof. They did the same thing where all the robots, all the mechs that are in BattleTech come from like 18 million different anime. And if you know the silhouette, you're like, oh, that's a Robotech. Right. And that's a this and that's a that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's a giant robot battle in Ready Player One that is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's so rewarding.
It's amazing. I mean, I don't want to reveal what I thought the biggest payoff of all the nostalgia in the book is, just because once you get to it, it is just so like unreal, because it was what I was telling you about like the property that, man, if they do this, there's no way, that they will have that 3 minutes of magic.
Oh, you're gonna have to tell me when we get off the mic.
Sure.
Which one you're talking about?
Well, it's your profile pic.
Oh, right on. Yeah. That was my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And the way they traded off, it was solid. Well done. The book is just a big bravo.
Third gate. What's your third gate?
Third gate as far as like what would be the video game to play?
Or I guess at this point, whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, golly, the ultimate gate for me. I would think about it being something that I just always want people to see because I've seen it before. Man, we've mentioned so many good ones. But it would also have to be like something pretty damn obscure too at the same time. You know what? I think it would be pretty cool to, if we go back to Michael J. Fox, to be able to relive Teen Wolf.
Oh, God. Teen Wolf, right?
That whole movie would be dope.
That's awesome.
Or just be Michael J. Fox and beat that team at the end, not as the Wolf, and have to do it.
Okay.
Like playing it like a basketball game.
What about like Escape from New York, dude?
Yeah, Escape from New York.
You gotta be Snake Plissken.
Oh, dude, any John Carpenter flick. Halloween, no. Yeah. Halloween would be my last gate. Halloween would be my last gate, and it wouldn't be as Laurie Strode.
Oh.
And it wouldn't be as Loomis either.
It'd be as Michael?
You'd have to be Michael.
Oh,
and not get caught.
Oh, yeah, man. I dig it. So this is what I'm going to choose.
And you have to get shot.
Right, yeah.
You have to know, well, this is awesome, but I'm going to have to take 6 bullets at the end of this.
So I'm going to go with the Dungeons & Dragons route.
Okay.
Because Dungeons & Dragons, it has its place in this book, but he doesn't go to it as much as he goes to the other stuff. And by the way, what happened to IROC in the book? He's this pain in the butt character, and then he never comes back.
Because IROC in the book ends up getting jealous
Right.
And spilling the beans to IOI.
And then we don't hear anything else about it.
No, you know what? You're right too, and I think that it is mentioned that he goes in and starts working for IOI.
I just feel like that was one little thread
right.
that
he needed to be taken care of.
You know, because he was really pivotal.
Yes.
In his moment. So anyway, in Dungeons and Dragons, again going back to like the top 10 modules of all time or whatever, there's one that's called Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, and people are very divided about it. But its influence and its place in history, nobody disputes. Expedition Barrier Peaks is a genre mashup. Basically, your dungeon adventuring party comes to a town, and the town says there's something up in the hills. There's a wizard or something. Anyway, it's really, really bad. Things are coming down from the hills, and they're killing people here in town, and we need somebody to go and shut it down, right? Well, it turns out there's a UFO that has crashed in the hills. So you have a classic dungeon adventuring group, and they don't know it's a UFO because the UFO has crashed into the hills and has been buried there for a long time and was recently uncovered, and things are coming off the ship into town like robots and aliens and things. And but in describing these things to the members of the party, you don't say it's a UFO. You say it's some kind of fortification, and it appears to be made out of steel or iron or whatever.
Like some type of metal.
Yes. So your goal as the dungeon master, is to describe everything and see how long it takes them to figure out
it's a
UFO. They're dealing with something science fiction
oriented. You can't be like,
oriented.
It's a saucer or whatever.
Yeah. You know, so oh my.
Yes.
So anyway, it's considered to be one of the absolute greats, and I think that next to Tomb of Horrors, what a mighty fine gate it would make in my Oasis.
Cool. Yeah, that's something that I wish that there was more time in the week for is a weekly. We've talked about this before. A weekly, 2 hours of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. No, I played role playing games a lot when I was a young guy, and it's something that I feel is like missing from my life is more gaming. When we had the Halloween party the other week, and we played Betrayal at the House on Haunted Hill, and there's a very slight role-playing element to it. Bro, I enjoyed playing that game so much, even though I personally didn't get to do a whole lot in the game. I definitely didn't get to do nearly as much fun stuff as some of the other players, and it just reminded me how much I love role-playing games and how I need to somehow get a little bit of tabletop gaming or role-playing in my life.
Right.
Video games, no problem. It's the coordinating and getting everybody.
Right.
And it's time. It takes time.
Well, I mean, back in the day, it would
You had
be
nothing but time.
Well, right. And it was
what are you doing?
Friday night. You go over to someone's house and you stay up until 6 a.m. and play Dungeons and Dragons.
You take a nap, you get breakfast, and you do it again.
Do it again, right.
You do it again.
Right.
And we used to play Dungeons and Dragons to a point, but what we would do is we'd have these mega weekends. I'd go to my friend Victor's house, and our buddy, who he goes by William now, but he was Billy back then, and then it was me and Bernard, Victor's brother. We would play like 3 or 4 different role-playing games over the course of the weekend. Dungeons and Dragons we always played, but we used to love playing Villains and Vigilantes, which is a superhero role-playing game.
Okay.
We'd make superheroes, and we'd go through all these great superhero games. There was a great post-apocalyptic game called Gamma World where you wander around in the wasteland, basically, and there's like mutant animals.
Sounds awesome.
All that stuff. And so we, and then like there's horror, like Call Cthulhu and Stalking Night Fantastic. So we would play all these things. And then a game that it was my duty to run for the group was a Detroit game company called TriTech Games had this micro role-playing game called Escape from Westerville State. Westerville State is a mental hospital, and everybody rolls a character and is given mental illnesses. And, okay, so it's not really a politically sensitive game. Right. But anyway, it was a comedic game. is, you're all nuts and you got to escape the nut house. And I had a lot of fun creating characters and situations for my boys to run through. So we would do these mega gaming weekends all the time, and it's something that I would personally love to have back in my life. And I think as soon as I get my schedule together for the remainder of the year, I want to get you and Sid and Josh, I don't know, get some people over and play that game a couple more times. Because it has 50 scenarios in it. 50.
And, like most games like that, we didn't even necessarily kind of start out playing it right. We kind of had to move in. If we would have had each of the levels of the house, the bases, the templates for
I goofed up
already,
the setup big time.
If we would have had all three of those from the jump, oh, man, But, two, also... that game is, you need about 4 hours to play that game.
You do. I mean, how long did we take?
It's about 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah. And then also, I want to sit down with you, Matt, maybe just me and you, and play Axis and Allies, which is a Milton Bradley game. It's Risk, but it's World War II specific. Right. And you have different units and economics and... basically, one play you can play either 2 people or 5 people is ideal. You got the Allies, which is U.S., U.K., and Russia, or you have Germany and Japan. Okay, it's a gorgeous game, and they have some spin-offs. Like they have one that's just Normandy, and they have one that's just the South Pacific.
Oh, right.
And but it's Risk with a lot more rules to it. It takes about 6-7 hours to play properly. It's an investment in time. Maybe I'll get you over to the house and we'll do that.
I think that either you or Begley or somebody needs to just write like write up like a short little campaign for us to run over like a 3-month period.
It'd be great,
and have it set up to where each session is made to like 2 hours. Like this will take 2 hours tops.
Right. Yeah.
And lock it all in.
And then we can gobble it up that way.
Right.
There's another game, too, that I used to enjoy playing that I'd love to get back to. It's called Paranoia. And basically, it's a satirical game. And you live... it's a satire of movies like THX 1138. All the players are citizens of an underground city, sometime in the far, far future, whatever. Or maybe, next 100 years or whatever. Anyway, the city is run by a computer, and the computer is wacko.
Right.
Okay? And you in the game, you play citizens, and you go on various missions. Now, everyone has a color code security clearance. Everybody has a mutant power. Everybody belongs to a secret society. It is against the law to violate your security clearance. It is against the law to have a mutant power, and it's against the law to belong to a secret society. And everyone has to have all these things. So basically, the computer is always actively trying to kill you by putting you on suicide missions and things like that. And then also, everyone in the party has different. Like one person is like the Minister of Happiness and has to constantly make sure everyone's happy in the group and so on. Anyway, there's a million ways to die, and things are always actively trying to kill you. So everybody gets 6 clones. Okay? So on top of everything else, you're a clone.
Right.
And in fact, one of the great modules is called Send in the Clones, So it's just a send up on science fiction dystopias and all that. And it is such a wacky game to play. I mean, it's just nuts. I'd love to get that in too. I'm sure some of our listeners know Paranoia. I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you when you're over at the house, and I'll show you my deluxe Judge Dredd figure that I got from
that's
Metzco Toys. That came right out of the box, bro.
Now that's your home office? That's your
the home office. Yeah,
right on.
I took it right out of the box. So Matt,
we
hit the wall.
We hit the wall, man. We hit the wall. We got our time in here, and I think now that we are. Well, let's see here. We're almost done with November.
We are. So look, we were going to talk about the top comics of 2015, and that didn't happen. So we're gonna do that next show, folks. We're gonna have
it's Thanksgiving.
It is
Thanksgiving,
right?
so it'll be.
Let's be thankful.
And let's be thankful for not only everything we have in this life, but also for comics in general.
Yeah.
And it's also going to give me a little time to prepare myself a little better.
So, but I want our listeners to have a preview. So, Matt, name 5 comics we're going to talk about next episode.
Okay. Well, pretty much, first off, the main thing for me in the next episode is admitting the fact that, I think I've hit that age to where the big two just aren't really doing it for me like they used to.
I feel you, man. I feel you.
And a lot of my favorite books that came out in 2015 are almost all Image Comics.
Image Comics, doing it right, man. So what are 5 comics that we're definitely going to be talking about?
5 comics, maybe some of these you've heard previously on the podcast. I'll be talking about Chrononauts by Mark Millar and Sean Murphy. I'll be talking about Descender, which is done by Jeff Lemire.
Oh, I want to hear all about that
and Dustin
one, man.
Nguyen. Also, let's see here. And there's a few new books actually that just started up that I think that are going to end up,
even though they're coming in at the tail end.
Yeah,
you're
and it kind of happens every year to where a couple of the books that
Oscar season, it's going to be we need to come up with a name for an award or whatever.
Award. Maybe that might be what we do as an award show.
Okay,
for the comic books,
and and we can even do that like towards New Year's. Yeah, but we can do kind of a show where we sort of give people an idea of what they might be seeing.
I've talked about the Star Wars comics. We're going to talk a little bit more about those. He-Man Eternity War from DC Comics has been just fantastic.
Yeah?
If you love He-Man...
how many issues in are they?
Oh, man, we're, I think, 11.
Oh, so is there a trade yet?
I do believe there is a trade already.
Because you know me, I just do the trade.
Yeah, but if but this has been set up by other things too. There's previous all the He-Man stuff from DC Comics, pretty much since 2011 has been amazing.
Okay,
it's been so good. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Obviously, we're going to talk about Grant Morrison and Multiversity. We're going to talk a little bit about Mad Max Fury Road and that series of comics that came out this year that kind of helped tell the story of the movie. And then, of course, Secret Wars dominated this summer, disappointed some, excited some people, and it's November, and it is still not over. So...
when was it supposed to be over?
It was supposed to be over now.
Okay.
By now, it was supposed to be done.
Yeah.
So, we'll get into that.
Right.
I don't want to really spend a lot of time talking about the Marvel stuff so much as the expanding her horizons. I'm not much for superhero books. That's fine. Read anything Image puts out.
Yeah, Walking Dead and Outcast. Boom, there are 2 Image titles that have nothing to do with superheroes.
Southern Bastards,
right?
same
Southern
thing.
Bastards.
So those are just a few of the titles we're going to be discussing in our next episode,
and maybe a couple clunkers too.
Oh, for sure. Mm-hmm. I'll definitely throw a few clunkers, that's for sure. But anyway, Tom, it was a pleasure sitting here with you. And also, too, this is crazy, but the next episode will be our goal episode.
Wow.
Episode 20. Yep.
20 episodes.
Insane.
And we're just getting started.
That's right. So anyway,
what a blast, man! What a blast! Hell of a show.
Yes,
sir. Hell of a show.
Yes. So everybody, go out, read Ready Player One if you haven't already. Read it. You'll enjoy it, especially if you're a geek like us. And in the late 20s to mid 40s, you will especially really love Ready Player One. So that's going to do it for us this week. For Dr. Tom, the street shaman of geekdom.
Yes.
I am Matt D. Simone, the podcast host. And we will see you again in the next episode of Matty Loves Podcast.
Matty Loves Podcast. Matty Loves Podcast.